Your warehouse has fork truck traffic blind spots. Collision Awareness does not. Their motion sensing safety systems detect fork truck traffic and alert workers at intersections, overhead doors, and other high-risk zones. Proudly made in the U.S., their products help reduce the risk of accidents by giving your employees additional visibility or potential traffic just around the corner. Visit collisionawareness.com to build a safer warehouse. That's collisionawareness.com to make your warehouse safer.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, and I am here in Houston, and I am at the Relay Distribution Fulfillment Center here, and I am going to be joined by Derek Dreyer. Derek,
hey,
how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Yeah.
I guess talk a little bit about ourselves and what we do.
Definitely, absolutely. And you said thanks for having me, but
Oh.
I got to say thanks for having me.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause
I guess.
I'm here at your place,
Thanks for
right?
coming. Yeah,
definitely. So
thanks for joining us.
So happy to be here. Definitely, we met, kind of like a year ago.
Yeah.
Right. We've been in touch a little bit, but it was an interesting connection bringing us here, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But before we do that, why don't you kind of kick it off here? Tell us a little bit about what is Relay Distribution.
Relay Distribution is a e-commerce fulfillment center. So we handle mostly small pack goods, and we're just a little mom and pop 3PL out in Houston, Texas.
Interesting. And so you're here in Houston, right? It's definitely in Houston because it's hot here, I'll say already, right? But
sweating a little bit over there.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling it from New Jersey, a little different. But it's great to be here. So, you started this thing with your co-founder, right?
Yep.
Partner. So tell us a little bit about where did the idea come from? How did you get into the fulfillment space? How did you get into what you're doing here?
Yeah, so it's actually a long journey. So back in 2015, I joined forces with a pretty popular fitness YouTuber, and he started a brand at the time called Alfley Athletics. And during that time, I just kind of started helping them small with operations, and, we went from doing like 1,500 orders in a launch to 10 to 20,000 orders. So I helped scale the operations and the warehouse side of things from pretty much the inception of that business. I did that for the first 5 years of that business, and that's kind of where I gained my knowledge and, learned a lot about business, about warehousing, the clothing, fitness industry, all that stuff, and came to a point where I just wanted to kind of go my own way and do my own thing. And at that point in time, Daniel, my co-founder, we actually co-founded a different fitness brand. We started our own clothing line called Motive Brand. And during that time, we ran that for 2 years, and Daniel also had his own separate clothing line, and we had a few friends who had some clothing brands, and that's essentially how the idea of opening a 3PL kind of came about. Is we were looking for a space for our current brands that we had. We knew some people who needed help, and we were kind of toying with the idea of, okay, well, instead of just getting a warehouse for our own stuff, like, why don't we go a little bit bigger, and why don't we start a 3PL, since we have the knowledge, skill set, all that good stuff. We had the team and everything. So we were fortunate enough to have shared a space with his family who does restaurant distribution. So they allowed us to actually split a 10,000 or 20,000 square foot building with them. So we started off with maybe about 5,000-6,000 square foot of space. Yeah. And we ran our own brands out of there. We brought in another brand called Everford. They were our first clothing brand. And it was kind of just off to the races from there. We decided we wanted to do things a little bit different as a 3PL, since we came from the social media, YouTube kind of background. Right. So our main initiative when we started is, one, we wanted to help these, not fitness, but just influencer social media companies in general, right? Right now there's a lot of social media personalities, venturing off, starting their own brands. A lot of them really need help. They don't really know where to start. So that was our target. And we felt like, how do we capture our audience, our niche? And we felt like the best way to do that would actually be to vlog and start our own YouTube channel as a 3PL and kind of...
Interesting, yeah.
Show our personality behind who we are, show our team, be kind of raw and transparent. Like, we're pretty open with what's going on in our business. We've talked about expenses on there before. We've talked about, what it takes to operate. We've given tips and pointers, and I get DMs all the time of people like, hey, I saw you on YouTube. Like, I've learned a lot. I've actually, started my own 3PL or, started my own small thing. And they'll ask me for advice, and, that's really cool. We don't really view that as competition, right? It's like, I think we're all here to kind of help each other. And I've noticed that a lot in the logistics industry, you know, and so that's kind of like how we came about. And we really wanted to kind of take a different angle and a unique angle to marketing. And that's where the YouTube channel came about. And like I kind of mentioned this off the podcast earlier, that, we took a different approach, and it's kind of accumulation of everything that Daniel and I have gone through in our career with, social media and clothing and things like that. And here we are, we've gotten, most of our clientele has come from, a brand has gone on YouTube, searched 3PL, our channel pops up, and they're like, hey, we saw you guys on YouTube, and I liked you guys, and I want to work with y'all. So we've made some great connections via social media and things like that. So it's been really great. That's how we've gotten a lot of our business. We do kind of have a niche in the clothing sector. That's where we come from. We're comfortable with it. But of course, those single SKU clients that have the high volume are...
That's hard to resist.
That's always... we're not going to say no to that type of business. But yeah, here we are, man. We're about a little over 2.5 years in business now, and, just continuing to try and scale.
Yeah, that's cool, and I love the journey there too, and I think it's really interesting the YouTube, because I've watched your YouTubes before, and like coming here for the first time, I'm like, oh, I've seen some of this stuff before in the videos, right? But it's really cool that you documented that process, and that's been like a main source of leads for you and potential clients, and I think that makes sense, right? If you're working with kind of the influencer, YouTuber type of clientele, but I'm curious, what are some of the challenges there? Because when you do, you mentioned these influencers now, like they're branching off into products or brands, and when they do that, it typically is like a launch kind of, right? So there's like a spike in demand, and how do you deal with that? How do you navigate kind of that fluctuation in volume a little bit?
Yeah, so I think the fortunate part of that scenario is that the brand I was with, Alphalete, before this, that was their model, their business model was launches. So, it was, the day-to-day stuff is easy, in the grand scheme of things for us. But, when there is a launch with, 10,000 orders, 5,000 orders, we'd have to kind of roll with how to prepare and be ready for those types of things. So I think just having that experience there has kind of like prepared us for those type of situations here. But yeah, it's really just, it's working diligently with our clients and, asking for, hey, you're having a launch in 2 weeks. Like, can you forecast sales? Like, what kind of promotions are you running? Just so that we can prepare on our side. Do we need to hire some temps, bring in some temp workers to help us out? Those type of things. It's all really just a lot of communication and a lot of planning. Yeah. But I would say some of the challenges that we've faced with working specifically with social media brands is, there's a lot of times where, hey, we have this social media personality. They have X amount of followers. We're starting a new brand. It's going to go crazy at launch. There's a lot of hype around it. We bring them in, they launch, and then it's like nothing that they projected at all. Really? So, that's definitely the case sometimes. Yeah. So, the challenge is, how do you navigate whether, somebody is going to actually legit, turn sales, or somebody who's actually not going to do as well, and then from there, what is their course? Are they discouraged? Do they want to continue the business? Where we've had some people
Like, nah,
kind of flop, flop, and then be
Yeah.
like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm
Yeah.
out. And then, we're kind of like, oh, okay, so those are some of the challenges that you face with some of this. But I would say most of the time, it's like a lot of these people, they do really care about it. They do want to promote their own thing, and they kind of go all in it. And when they do go all in, that's when you see the success, kind of. It may be quicker. Some may be quicker than others, but for the most part, it's really awesome to see a lot of these people like starting their own thing. And, especially for us, right? We come from that space. We started our own thing. We're trying to grow it, and we really view a lot of these, let's say all of our clients, as partners, right? We're a huge partner in your brand and the success of your customer journey and experience. And, we don't take that lightly, because we ourselves come from that e-commerce background. Like, we've owned our own brands. We understand like the importance of how a package goes out, how quick it goes out, how it's packaged, your customer journey as a whole. So we've been grateful to work with a lot of these clients, and some have it, they're very good and don't need a lot of help, but some do need some help and ask for certain advice, and we're able to give it because of our experience, and that's really fulfilling. No pun intended.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I see what you did there. Yeah, I like that. But I think it's interesting too, because you have this other side of your business too, right? Which is like product development, manufacturing. So tell us a little bit about that. And you mentioned you guys had your own brands before, or you still do?
No, we don't. We've closed down those brands, but we do have the opportunity, right? Or we have come into a new venture where we will be starting our own brand.
Exciting.
We can talk about that in a little bit, but. Sure. The product development side of things is actually led more so by Daniel, my partner.
Okay.
He, I've always been like the operations logistics side. He's been the manufacturing side of things, even with our own brands. So that kind of came about. He came to me and was like, hey, I have a few people wanting to start some brands. I keep getting people reaching out to me. And, I just said, hey, like, why don't we just make that a leg of our business? Like, why don't we help even some of our current clients are in the clothing industry, and why don't we just made it an added value service, and then kind of bring it together where these people that you currently have that are building brands, they're eventually going to need help in the 3PL space, right? They're going to need the full scope, and we kind of decided, well, why don't we make ourselves a full turnkey type solution, and also add photo video for e-com as well. And that's, what Austin kind of heads up for us as well.
Yeah, so like in-house videographer.
Yeah, we do in-house video and photo. We have a studio upstairs, and, we have one client that every time we get new product, he tells us what he wants shot. We shoot it, give it back to him, and, he's on the website with it. So really just offering those kind of services, I feel like helps us stand apart, because we just understand what you need, right?
Yeah.
And if your product is already in our warehouse, say you didn't get your photo samples, you need something in a pinch, boom, we have it here all ready to go, and we can help you out in that front. So, and then on the flip side, if you're having trouble, getting something manufactured or sourced, like we're very close with our partners in China, like we're partnered with them. We get priority service, like we're able to, if it's not clothing, we know people that, in the industry that can, not outsource us, but refer us to other manufacturing partners, whether it's sunglasses, we have a dog toy company, we make dog toys, we manufacture dog leashes and things like that. So it's not just clothing. Like, while that is our niche, we do have the capability to help produce other things as well. And, we've been able to come in clutch for a lot of our clients in that sector as well. So really, like I said, man, it's just we saw an opportunity to just, how can we stand out outside of other 3PLs, and it's offering these added services, and that's where really a lot of that came from.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Struggling with scanning errors and peeling labels? Moving or reconfiguring your warehouse? Implementing a new WMS? The wrong labels can slow your operation down. Luckily, ID Label has durable, scannable barcode labels and signs built to last and keep your operation moving. Plus, if you need to get those labels installed, they've got it covered. Their expert team installs rack labels, overhead signs, floor striping, and more with precision, so your warehouse operations continue uninterrupted. I've installed tens of thousands of labels in my career, and I wish I had someone else do it for me. Get a free sample pack at idlabelinc.com, because when they do the barcodes, you can do more. That's idlabelinc.com for a free sample pack and more information. Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think, you know, having all that experience certainly, I can imagine, helps a lot of these brands, right? Especially like talk about the influencers that are like just going to start something and get out there. Like I'm sure that knowledge and that advice is incredibly valuable to them to be able to leverage that, and whether you guys develop the products for them or not. But I'm curious, you have relationships with China on the manufacturing side, right? So you know I got to ask you about tariffs, right? Because that's big in the news, right? And as we're recording this, I think, you know, we're on it was like a 90-day suspension, 30% or something. Yeah. So how has that been, kind of navigating that, I guess, from all facets of your business? Yeah.
So on the 3PL side, it's been interesting, right? Because I think a lot of the custom border patrol, like on the export side, they've even gotten stricter with, you know, tariff codes and make sure things are being labeled properly on the export side of things, not only the import side of things. So we've, you know, done a sweep of all of our clients. We informed all of them, hey, just do a check, make sure all of your classification codes are correct, you know, just to ensure like none of your shipments get held up for any reason. It's really been more of a challenge on the manufacturing side of things, as you can imagine, because our sole partnership is in China. So we're getting real-time feedback from China, and, you know, as things are going on in the U.S. And we had a lot of clients who were about to place purchase orders, and they kind of held back a little bit, were concerned, wanted to kind of know the situation. And I think just as the rest of the world, we were all kind of like, hey, we're kind of in a unknown right now, right? Yeah. Because, you know, the past 3 days, tariffs rose 3 or 4 times. Yeah. So tomorrow they could drop, right? Like they could come to the table and negotiate, and we just told them, like, hey, let's wait. You know, don't rush your order. Like, let's kind of ride this out. You know, it seems like China and the U.S. are coming to terms pretty soon. It seems like they both sides want to negotiate. And then here we are. You know, the tariffs dropped, and then, you know, we were like, okay, place your orders now while we have this 90-day window. We can, you know, at the very least, you know, hit this window with your imports, and you won't be as heavily taxed as before. So, yeah, it was definitely a challenge, you know, having to get on and explain to them, like, hey, because, you know, they're like, what do I do? Well, can we source somewhere else and things like that? And then even from our manufacturing side, our partners had long-term plans to, hey, if things don't improve, we will look into going to Vietnam or, you know, another country and actually setting up shop and producing out of there so that, you know, it could alleviate the tariff situation with China. So there was obviously already long-term plans being discussed, and then short-term plans that we, you know, kind of just said, hey, like, let's hold off a little bit and see how things go. And it's hard, right? It's hard because you don't want to make an extreme decision, like, let's move our whole entire production to another country.
Next day is something different,
You know, here we are a week later or 2 weeks later, and, you know, it's back down to a more reasonable tariff. So, yeah, I think, like, anytime I would open up LinkedIn is, like, first thing tariff. You know, it's like tariff. I'm like, oh, man, I'm not going on this today. So, but, yeah, it's really cool having the live feedback from our manufacturers and suppliers and seeing, like, hey, what's going on. And, you know, we've been to China, you know, 3 or 4 times within the past year now, just to, you know, build that relationship with them. We've become really close with them. You know, we hang out with their families. When they come here, they hang out with our families. So we're pretty tight-knit with them, where they're actually giving us honest answers on what's going on, not just trying to, like, hey, this is what we can do so that it'll be cheaper for your shipment, which is, you know, a lot of suppliers were like, they were scrambling to get orders, and they're like, hey, let's do this. And then, you know, we're like, hey, don't do that, because if it gets caught at, you know, if you ship it DDP, misclassify it, you know, that's on the importer for, you know, any fees or anything like that. So it's definitely been a journey and a crazy past month with all this tariff stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine, definitely. And especially, like, being involved in the manufacturing side and development and then the fulfillment as well. I'm sure you're getting it from, like, all different angles, like what do we do, getting calls and things like that. So good insight there, definitely, and very interesting. And now you mentioned you guys are going to do your own brand, right? You're going to do something new?
Yeah. So we are.
You want to tell us about that?
That kind of came about. I'll speak a little bit on it because it's still, we just announced it. We are doing a partner brand with Shein, so we'll be selling this brand exclusively on Shein.
Yeah.
And that kind of came about through our product development side of things. We got introduced to this company. They liked our experience and our team and wanted to bring us on as partners. And so we just took on the project, and it was a crazy timeline for everything, but and also a crazy time, as you can imagine, with the tariff war and things like that, and the de minimis changes and things like that, and everybody speculating on how Shein and Temu are going to survive.
What are they going to do? Yeah.
And on the flip side, we're talking with Shein on a daily basis and seeing what they're actually planning on doing, and so it's been kind of cool to kind of see, China and U.S. on both sides of the spectrum, and just kind of like watching from the sidelines and watch everybody speculate and kind of have an actual grasp on what's going on. So it's been cool. We're excited for it. It's actually launching next week, and man, we're excited to be a part of that. It's been a journey as well.
Cool. That's like a full spectrum supply chain you got going on here.
Yeah,
basically, right?
yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And now we're here on site, right? So there's a reason we're here.
Yeah.
Right. So so our friends at PO, right, which is this thing behind us here, this PO system. They've installed a project here, a system. So tell us a little bit about that. What is that behind us?
Yeah, it's kind of a full circle moment because I opened up LinkedIn one day and I saw you actually post PO giveaway, robotics free, whatever. So I'm like, okay, what is this? Let me look into it. And I just saw the system, saw what it was, and I was like, man, I think we could really benefit from this because we are in a smaller warehouse. Our warehouse is only 20,000 square foot. We handle clothing brands, which are high SKU clients, and this system just kind of seemed like a perfect fit for that. And I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's apply to, win this thing for free and, see if it's something that we can actually achieve. And went through multiple rounds of interviews with the PO team and, told them our story, told them who we are, what we do. They love that we're so active on social media and constantly posting videos, and they unanimously selected us as the winners. And, I think 3 months later, we have the PO being installed right before Black Friday, or we were crunch time, like, hey, let's do this. Let's get this thing up before Black Friday. We think it'll really help us. And they were awesome about, honoring that. I think they rushed it a little bit for us, and we're so grateful for that because, we got through Black Friday a breeze with the thing installed. So.
Awesome. And for people that are not familiar, PO is essentially an ASRS, automated storage retrieval system, right? So there's a tower here, and there's a bunch of bins in here, and you got 6 robots on top, right? Yeah,
there's 6 robots up there. If you're familiar with AutoStore, it's basically a smaller version of the AutoStore system. They basically made a small. The impact of it is only 500 square foot in your space. So this right here is taking up 500 square feet. We have about 4,500 SKUs in it right now. Maybe a little bit less. I think we took some out. But 1,500 bins are stacked up over here. The robots drive around on the top and they dig out the bins and then bring it to the port where it's the items are scanned out and packed from there.
Right,
So it's an amazing system. It pretty much is your picker, right? You only need a packer operating it. The robots are your pickers, and they're just bringing you things like one after another, kind of no downtime. They're just consistently bringing product, and it works amazing for high SKU clients like clothing brands because, we can split the bins into sectors of 4. We can split them into sectors of 8. And you can also split it into sectors of 16, which is amazing because, a lot of times you'll get a return from a client. It's a sold out product. You only have one of one. You don't want to take up a full picking bin, right? Or you don't want to mix it with a bunch of them. You can actually assign it to a little 16 slot. You know exactly where it's at. The machine, the system knows exactly where it's assigned. So I think that was a big challenge with some clothing brands that we've worked with, and other warehouses we've seen is, you have these single SKUs, or what are you going to do with these one of ones?
Piece in a bin.
Yep, you have these
empty space. Yeah,
you're spending time looking for it. So it's assigned. It's really great. It's one of my most favorite features about the system is how you can construct all the boxes and kind of just mix and match everything. And like I said, that's how we're able to fit 4,000 SKUs in there. So it's great. It's for sure a game changer on the space side for sure.
Yeah, and I think I heard that on the other side here, which we can't see it right now, but what you have in there now used to take up about 6,000 square feet?
Yeah, so that's about, I would say it's taken up about 3,000 square feet of floor space alone, right? You know, it's your traditional picking aisles with the bins stacked up.
Right.
The way we have our warehouse configured is we have racks above those bins so that we can utilize the high storage and not just waste the space. But yeah, that entire space is now open because all the product is in the PO. So what that allows us to do is, figure out how we want to get creative with that space, or just go get some more brands and fill it up, which is what we're trying to do right now.
Of course, always.
Fill it up, yeah. Space to fill, let's fill it.
Definitely. So basically, you're taking 3,000 square feet and consolidated into 500 square feet in the PO here, which is definitely a huge savings, right? And like you said, allows you to open up those opportunities for new brands to come in or get more creative with the space and do some other things there and expand your business, essentially, right? Now, tell us a little bit about kind of what what it was like once this was installed and live. How was it for like your employees to get up to speed and work with the PO? What was their reaction?
I think they were all excited. I think there's always whenever you install automation, there's always going to be the kind of weariness from your team, like, are we being replaced by robots? You're like, no, this is actually to help you guys. It's actually just so that we don't have to hire more people. Type thing. And our team has been great. They all have learned it, and we're really excited. The PO, the interface, the user interface, everything is so user friendly and easy to learn that you could learn it right now if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
that
think I'm
simple.
going to in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's, that's the thing, right? Whenever you bring in temps and stuff, you want systems that are very user friendly, easy to pick up, and this is something that definitely is that. And our team has been great. They learned it quick. I think it's cool to, in general, just say you work with robots, right? Like you're working on a machine, it's kind of the in thing right now. But, as far as receiving and, inventory management, it's been actually very easy, right? There's not a lot of inventory flow, mispicks going back into the wrong bins on accident. You really eliminate a lot of those type of situations in the warehouse to where it's a great system.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's a great point too. Like, because you go to a regular pick bin, right, in a rack, right? Then you accidentally pick something from the bin next door, or like you said, you put it back in the one that's like above, or something like that. And this kind of only presents you with the one tote, so you're like limited in options, right? So definitely reducing kind of that inventory misstep potential, right? Now, what about in terms of like throughput? Did you see like an increase in your productivity and the number of picks you could get done?
Yeah. So I think. Just some rough stats that we kind of calculated is, if you have a picking cart, you're walking through the aisles, which is now called our manual process. Which is still a pretty automated process, with the systems we have. But, that you average maybe 50 to 55 order lines an hour. And with the PO, we've been able to get 100 to 150 at times. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
And that's just with our process. We do a different process than how some other clients of the PO do, and I think they can get up to 200 to 300 order lines an hour, depending on their process, right? So it's definitely increased efficiency. We're able to just, your packer stands there, they don't move, they just consistently have items coming to them. So you can imagine, that's just wasted time or saved time from walking in the aisles and picking everything. You're letting the robots do it for you. They are smart enough to bring you the next order in an efficient manner. It's not necessarily like giving you every order in like sequence as it came in, what I'm trying to say? But it'll pull orders from all hours of the day, but in the most efficient manner to where you're still going to clear the queue pretty quickly.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that 2x to 3x productivity essentially is huge, right? So now tell us about kind of what does the future for Rita look like? Are you gonna eventually expand on this thing, or what are you thinking here?
It depends on the clients we can get.
Where's those clients? We need the clients, right?
You need a 3PL in Houston, hit me up. No, we actually just partnered with Fulfill.com. You might be familiar with those guys. So we've taken a different approach. We didn't want to just solely rely on our social media forever. We wanted to start venturing into some other marketing opportunities and, partnering with like Fulfill.com. We're giving it a little test run to see what kind of clientele we can get from there and what kind of leads they can bring to us. And so just taking things like that. We've also partnered with a venture capital firm where we're the premier 3PL partner that they're presenting to either their companies they're investing in or just companies in general. They do an email blast. So we have some great things in the pipeline for growth. And like I said, we have this space to fill now. We are going to try to fill it. And, if we can fill it up, we now know what the PO can do. And if we need to add an additional PO, that's going to free up more space for high storage and then, consolidate a bunch of stuff into the PO. And it's going to be really nice for space. And I think that's really the biggest thing. It'll allow us to stay within our 20,000 square feet warehouse. We have the ability to add 5,000 square foot if we need to build on, but we can stay in here. We're estimating another 2 to 3 years, which, as you can imagine, with the cost of warehousing and things like that, versus, if we had to go to a 50,000, 75,000, the cost of that is going to well exceed the cost of another PO. So we're looking at it from that angle of how can we maximize the cost per square foot that we're in and, just kind of go from there. And I think long term, we want to add more automation. And it's really cool because a 5-year goal when we first started this business was automation, and we got it into, right?
Nice.
Fortunately, we won the contest, and we're very fortunate with how it came about, but I think it's been really amazing to have, and it legitimizes us in a sense, right? When you're talking to clients, they come tour it, they see it's more like, they're more comfortable. It's not just, we're all young guys, and I think that was a lot of the trouble we had in the beginning was, hey, you guys are just starting, right? You're fresh. Like, we don't trust that you really know what you're doing, but now it's like, oh, okay, I think you do. It's kind of thing, legitimizes us in a sense. And yeah, man, we're excited to continue growing, continue putting out content, and, hopefully your followers give us a view on YouTube and like what we're doing, and just kind of show a different side of business. It doesn't have to be so corporate and, monotonous, and, it's warehousing is a monotonous job, right? Like it kind of gets repetitive. So we try to, involve our team, make them have fun, shoot some content with them, really bring them, make them really feel a part of the brand that we're building, and which is Relay Distribution, and enjoy their jobs. We have very low turnover. Everybody loves being here and working with us. So it's something that we're also very, very proud about. And yeah, man, we're excited and just ready to continue growing.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And definitely one last question before we close out here for anybody that's like in the position that you were in, or is looking at whether it's a PO system or automation in general, like what would be your piece of advice for them?
For if you're a warehouse looking to get automation?
Yeah, or a PO system,
A PO system, I would highly recommend it. It's very affordable. They created this for like mid-size type 3PLs or even businesses, e-commerce businesses in general. You don't have to be a 3PL to purchase one, but, their goal was to provide an affordable automation system that, gives people like us access to earlier, right? Whenever you think robotics, automation, you always think the ticket price, right? Oh man, that's going to cost millions. It actually doesn't cost millions. It's very affordable. If the volume is there, right, you got to, of course, make it make sense for your business and make sure it's something that you can take on. But the throughput, productivity increase, we don't have to utilize as much labor, and the savings kind of like in the long run, I think the ROI is definitely there. And, if you're hesitant, maybe pull the trigger. You just got to go for it sometimes, man. Like that's how we have always done our businesses. We see an opportunity, we'll take the risk and, analyze later and figure out how to improve and things like that. But I think if you're thinking about automation, for sure, it's a game changer, and I think it's where the industry is going as a whole, right? So if you're not thinking about AI and automation now, you're going to get kind of left behind, and you don't want that if you're trying to scale. So
yeah, absolutely, definitely great advice there. And so if people want to get in touch with you, want to learn more about Relay, want to check out the YouTube, what's the best
so
way
you
to do
can
that?
follow us on YouTube, youtube.com @RelayDistro. Instagram is @RelayDistro. Our manufacturing is Soon ProDev, and our content and videography is Relay Visions on Instagram. So Relay Distro will have all that. We've been doing videos for 2.5 years consistently, so it's also really cool. You can go back to our very first video and see where we started. You can see our journey from the beginning, the warehouse we were in, and how we got clients and the struggles with our business and everything. So we're pretty candid and transparent, like I was saying, is that's where I was going with my point earlier about the whole corporate thing is, we try to have fun with it, try to show the insides of actually what it takes to operate a business and how it goes. And especially in this industry, right? Like, nobody's like wakes up and is like, let me start a 3PL. It's like not something that you want to do.
Grow up about doing.
So
about that,
it's fun, man. It's fun learning on a day-to-day basis. And if you guys want to give us a follow, a shout, come check us out.
All right, cool. Well, Derek, thank you so much for inviting me in here to your operation, and we will put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes here. So make sure you check out Relay Distro and check out Pio as well.
Yeah. It's funny how the robots and everything just got really quiet right when the podcast ended, right?
Yeah.
It's like
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.